When the results for the Smogon Awards were released a couple months ago, there was one surprise that was seen for the entirety of the Draft League community, and that was the outcome of the Best Draft League Battler, with Hacker coming out on top. If you thought about it deeply enough, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise due to Hacker being commonly known throughout the Smogon community for various aspects. And at the end of the day, these awards are popularity contests. However, despite joking around about it and being like, oh, this was such a robbery, why don't we actually review the 2024 of a certain hacker killer and see how exactly he got on? And how good was he actually? Let's find out. We begin with discussing our protagonist's journey through the Summer Seasonal, an event that Hacker did quite well in, with this fairly unusual squad, as you can see here, consisting of Terra Ogrepon and Double Birds, and a Kyurem. So yeah, it was certainly an interesting one, but honestly, a lot of games were really impressive. And this one here was the first game of the play-ins, so it was his round of 16 match against Urban. So let's go check this out. We begin with the Zapdos lead against Corviknight, really favourable position for Hacker. Urban pivots into Glamora as we see a Hurricane miss trying to catch the Landorus. Pull switch out, nothing too surprising there. And we see a Toxic from a Corrosion Glamora, which will probably put the Iron Treads on a bit of a timer. He goes for an aggressive read trying to catch the Corviknight, goes for Supercell Slams, the Ogrepon comes in, and we see the Kyurem come in, which is going to be the obvious response to opposing Ogrepon Wellspring, which decides not to Terra in this instance, which is a surprise. The Ogrepon pivots out, Freeze Dry, we see a crit, and a freeze! Oh, Hacker. But the Deoxys immediately thaws, gets Focus Blast off, does not kill, and we see the Kyurem get a kill, but now this looks like the Ogrepon's going to be a little bit of a problem. We see the Overquill pivot, unsurprisingly, to keep the sack for later, as Ivy Cudgel does 31, meaning Terra will be a major problem. Spikes go up, and the pivot back in Iron Treads, to the surprise of absolutely no one. Rocks go up, they'll get spun in a second, so we see Spiky Shield. In this Treads getting worn down very quickly. We now see the Landorus pivot on the Rapid Spin when the Corviknight is still right there. He's clearly trying to keep that thing around. As we see a Scarf Landorus reveal, clicking U-turn and pivoting into the real story here of Ice Cube. The Ice Phase goes off. We see the Penguin without the giant cube, which just takes an Earthquake. Glamora pivots in the Talonflame to the surprise of absolutely no one. U turns out because it's free, due to the low cost debris. And Ogrepon's about to claim one. Is it about to claim one? No? Yes. Doesn't even need to Terra and does 55% of the core, which looks to have been effective. Ogrepon's pivots out on what we know as the Scarf Landorus as it U-turns out into the Glamora once again. I imagine we'll see something similar to the early game, where we will see a Volt Switch out. But we see the Kyurem finally coming in as the sack, expecting rocks to go up, as they do, and this will get one last hit off before down. The ISQ sack makes sense on Urban's side, and chooses to revenge with the Ogrepon. The key question here is, does Hacker lose to Trailblaze? And the answer to that is not yet. We see the Terra finally get revealed. Talonflame comes in, looking to revenge with Brave Bird. But the Glamora pivots in, meaning the Talonflame Gale Wings is lost. So if Trailblaze does ever go up, it could get problematic. The Overquill pivots in, meaning he's not even keeping the Intimidator. Surprisingly. Lets you take a Power Gem. We see a Citrus Berry reveal, shout out to J. Ricky, as the Overquill kills the Glamora. Ogrepon comes back in, gets once again, just claims one. It ends up being the Overquill, which I guess makes sense. The Talonflame comes back in. We see Landorus come in, as Brave Bird does 55. Serious chunk. That does pivots in, as we expected Rock Slide. Rock Slide does 7. So this wasn't offensive weapons. And then I could pick off. And Ogrepon's at full. We see the Terra here finally from Hacker, which could have been seen ages ago. We see a Rock Slide miss, which is unfortunate. But Ivy Kojo kills, and at this point, it does just come down to speed tie, which Urban wins, but it doesn't matter. So, kind of clean game from Hacker here. It wasn't the... Like, there was nothing that was inherently wrong with that. It was a fairly standard game. He looked on top from the beginning. Could have gotten a little bit hairy if that Ogerpon was Trailblaze and say the Rock Slide hit. But overall, he looked fairly comfortable, and it was a good win. He did go out in the following round, leading to a top 8 finish in the seasonal, which is nothing to be scoffed at whatsoever. However, it is a bit of a disservice to only talk about Hacker's gems. 9 prowess, as we all know, predominantly he prefers his Ultra Sun Neutral Moon when it comes to Draft League. And DPP, but we don't talk about the DPP bit because that's just a fake format. So suck it, Hacker, we're not doing that anytime soon. So we come to Hacker's one and only game that was seen in last year's Draft Premier League, and you can see here that he is playing against Skyhorse, an unusual one to see him in Gen 7 in the first place, a man that is predominantly a Gen 8 player. This was a crucial Game 8 for his team, as I believe it could have gotten them a point in the series. However, I'm just going to let this game speak for itself. Oh. So here we see the Mesprit lead from Skyhorse as Hacker leads with Rotom. Rocks go up in exchange for a Thunder Wave, as we see the Hydro Pump come off, doing 35, as Mesprit reveals the never-ending nightmare trying to catch the Metagross on the switch-in. Doesn't quite work out. Hydro Pump misses, as we see yet another Shadow Ball. We're trying to predict the out. But Hacker is still refusing to do so. We see another Shadow Ball, it's a F drop, and we see the Wiki Bear on Rotom. Now we finally see a Voltwick from Hacker going into Togedemaru. Yes, that is a Togedemaru on your screen, as the Mesprit is fully paralyzed. We see a U-turn. As we see the Landers coming. As this brings in the Sceptile. This Sceptile reveals to be Choice Scarf, killing with HPIs, because there's no way that Landers would have stayed in if it was itself. Right, U-turn off. Charizard comes in on Rocks from Hacker, and yeah, from here we see a sub up on the Toxic. The game is kind of over. Fire Blast misses, Psychic breaks the sub, Fire Blast connects this time, killing the Metagross, and this is not looking like a problem. You see the Pidgeot come in, aka the only thing that outspeeded. Hurricane comes off, does 60 and confuses, but Charizard breaks through. No need worried about missing because of no guard. And yeah, this co-fight should just kill. We see Dragon Pulse, and the Hacker decides to nasty plot instead of Trick Rooming or killing because the game's over. Yeah, not the finest showing from Hacker here, and there's plenty of stuff that could have gone differently, but I think as soon as the Scarf Sceptile was revealed, and this Charizard got in on the Metagross, it was always going to be a problem. Especially with the early game game of letting the Rotom get weakened down, and the Wikiberry already being popped. But, yeah, at the end of the day, Skyhorse a convincing win here, and this led to Hacker inevitably being dropped from his team at DPL, and needing a bit of a refresh, because it was not his finest moment. And we'll leave it at that. We fast forward a couple months, and this brings us to our main protagonist looking to redeem himself in the Draft Champions League. This was his first game against...
Wait a minute!
Yeah, first time I'm showing myself on the channel here, guys. I wonder how this will go. It looks like a fairly balanced matchup on paper. Both sides have threats, and yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it. Let's just hop right into the game. We see a Cobalion lead from yours truly, as our protagonist leads with Primarina. The Toxic goes off as Moonblast kills with a crit. I will confirm that mattered. And yeah, Hacker and I have talked about that to death. The Primarina pivots out as the Muck goes for knockoff. Cell Stealer revealing the Z move. Acid Armor comes off from the Muck as the Leech Seed goes off. I was expecting offensive autotomize. Earthquake does 29. Knockoff does 23. We're going to sit here for a bit. There's the Pop and Berry Pop. I pivot out because I'm tilted and forgot to click Recycle. It's stupid of me. Going into Vaporeon on an Earthquake. Rotom comes out as the Vaporeon throws up a Wish. And we see the pivot into Altaria. Just a heads up, you're going to see this a lot. Primarina comes back in, Mr. I'm going to claim a kill with Moonblast. As the Muck comes back in, and this is why you click Recycle, folks. Moonblast. Two shots the Muck. Poison is wearing down Primarina relatively quickly. Sees everyone out on an air balloon. Primarina Rotom comes in on the Plasma Fists. He can't take any risks because that thing takes its toll. Altaria comes back in on Rotom. Shock. Rotom clicks Leaf Storm. Not so surprising. Not sure what the set is just yet. Altaria finally Mega Evolves and clicks Body Slam, not getting paralysis on the Mega Diancie. As it pivots into Vaporeon. Moonblast comes off, does 38 to the Vaporeon. And pivots back out to Primarina as I go for Scald, surprisingly. I would have thought I'd scout for Skill Flop or something. I don't remember this game too well. I click Protect to scout what the hell the Primarina is going to click as we see an Energy Ball. A little bit surprising. Altaria comes in on a Grass move once again in this game. I don't think it's as at 50%, and this demon is finally at the Body Slam. Mega Diancie pivots in. Obviously, I'm going to be Vaporeon here on the Moonblast. Does 37. Leftovers just in range. And Rock go up on Wish. Good play the backer. And we see the Rotom Moog pivot on Cold. We see a crit. No burn. So this thing is staying nice and healthy. Protect to scout the Rotom. Rotom clicks Leaf Storm again. To surprise almost nobody. And I go Altaria playing it nice and safe. Hacker makes the safe play and clicks Leaf Storm. Looks like it might two-shot, but he doesn't risk it. He goes Diancie on Roost, as you should. I'm in a bit of a pickle. I go back into Vaporeon as Diancie clicks Toxic, which is a big reveal. Put this Vaporeon on the timer. Pivots out in the Rotom Mow again, on another Scald. It seems to be very cold water. Back again to Scout, because this is clearly Scout Rotom at this point. So we see another Storm. The question is, do I stay in this time? No, I play it safe again. Go Altaria. If he plays it safe, I'm Leaf Storm. Body Slam this time. Trying to catch an aggressive Diancie. I get Power. Yeah. I click Power Song as he just takes his kid with Heavy Slam. It's thing 30. So he's not being a fun video, which was a giant threat all week. And then putting in the back, I went for a knockoff here, trying to catch the Rotom or the Crook coming in. Both being Scarf potentially. Takes the giant portion across the face, and this is effectively over. You see the Plasma Fist come off here. Goes Necron, which is surprising. Takes the Plasma Fist, does 39, which is way less than expected, as X-Scissor picks that off. And it just comes down to, has Hacker positioned himself well enough around the Mew? You see a Taunt come off on an X-Scissor. We see a Scald from the Mew here. Still no burns. I don't know how you do it at this point. We see a Softball from the Mew, as yet another X-Scissor comes off. It looks just about in range. It's tricky predicament, 50-50. I go for Softball. Hacker makes the correct play in this Big Swords Dance. We see a Z1 come off here on the Vortex. This was a new display. Now Papagray comes off. There's the X-Scissor. And yeah, this game's practically over. See another Scald. We fought to see a burn. Yeah, this game's over. Rotom will Vaporeon eventually. We see the Photon guys here do 38. Wish comes off with Vaporeon to surprise nobody. And Packs. Another SD. That's the correct play. Yeah, it's just a fun. Really nice game from Hacker. I'll talk about this a little bit at the end here. Vaporeon dies to Poison. Pretty dumb play from Hacker, put up pretty well. I think the turn 1 crit definitely kind of made this game a hell of a lot easier for Hacker, but take nothing away from him. I think ultimately he pivoted really well, prep was really good. We never saw the Crook in this game, which was revealed afterwards to be Assault Vest, which was definitely a surprise to me. I thought it was going to be Scarf 100% against the Aurora. But it wasn't to be. And yeah, I think this game would have been quite different if the Cobalion was able to get a Rock's turn 2. That was kind of the main thing. But overall, really nice to play game from Hacker. Ultimately, his team did lose the series. It's kind of a funny narrative, which we'll get into in a later battle. But, yeah, good display from Hacker here, and he gets off to a winning start. The final game of Hackers that I want to show of last year is another Usum game played in the last week of regular season of DCL, where he comes up against iPro. iPro is regarded these days as the front runner for the best battler in Usum, just due to his consistency in the last couple of years, using a very similar structure all the time. The Tapu Fini and the Mega Pidgeot is typically the highlight, except it's actually mentioned in this game. Hacker, as you can see, is using a different one of the Usum teams, including a mon that he loves a lot in Comfey, and we'll kind of get into that later. This had no major implications on any series whatsoever because Hacker's team was already eliminated and Sidul's was safely secured in playoffs. But it's still a really nice game that I thought I would show off. And let's jump into it. We see a Garchomp lead from Hacker on the Tapu Fini as we pivot into Rotom Wash. On a Calm Mind, Sidul is out for blood immediately. Light screen goes off, as Moonblast does 26. Probably because weakness policy looks quite obvious at this point. Moonblast on the Comfey pivot. We see a Calm Mind war beginning. Yes, we all love Calm Mind wars, don't we, folks? Another Calm Mind. Moonblast is 22. No special attack drop. Another Calm Mind from the Comfey. Moonblast is 19 this time. Still no special attack drop. As we see a Giga Drain to 52. And there's our obvious weakness policy, folks. Life Forms for building the Comfey. So we'll go through yet another Calm Mind. Making the roll, like a crucial crit there from Hacker. I think Moonblast didn't kill, but it would have been a very different game. Bronzong comes in, sits up all the fun. Star Ball comes off in a Heatran. This Bronzong reveals to be heat-proof immediately. This flame charge only does 14, with Earthquake doing 74. Earthfire comes off, doing 41 to the Bronzong. A few kills. But Hacker's not in a position here, due to Phoenix being down. Nido King pivots. On the Dragon Dance, we have the crappy. Second Dragon Dance comes off. As we see Sledge Wave do 53. As Knockoff just instantly kills nothing off the Assault Nest. Foxy comes off. We see Kartana. Kartana reveals to be Scarfed. Leaf Blade crit. I don't think that matters, but I don't know. That actually happened. Gartman comes in. Does Ruskin and Rocky Helmet damage to the Kartana, as well as an Earthquake. Sidul decides to pivot out into the Feraligatr here, expecting the Emperor, which comes off. Pichu and Feraligatr, which reveals to be very phase enough. Comes off. Last off from Hacker. We see a Skull from the Feraligatr as the Garchomp passes poison. The Maybe our Dactyl here comes in. It's toxic as soon as it comes in. That's surprising. No one. Bronzong pivots in as we see a Reflect come out from the Rotom. Hydro Pump comes off that crit, definitely. But I'm fairly sure that was 50% very non-possible. But hard to say at this point. Bulk Up comes off from the Zero Auras. Hydro Pump is 41. Another Bulk Up comes out over here. That's the Hydro Pump man. Exactly what's happening already after this game. Third Half comes in. We see an Earthquake do 44. Plasma Fist is going to get it done. It does get it done behind the Reflect. But Comfey comes in at this point, and Draining Fist comes off. Picks up the Revenge. Feraligatr comes in because Kartana is well in range. Calm Mind on the Toxic, but it's too little too late for Sidul, as this Comfey is going to come through, pick off the Feraligatr, and then finally pick off the Kartana after Reflect goes. Pick off this weakened Kartana to claim what was a great claim. Definitely some important crits. This Comfey was likely going to be dead if not for the crit on the Tapu Fini. Probably would have died for life form. I don't know the exact rules. I'd have to look into them. But there's too much effort to this now. And the crit on the Bronzong was probably huge as well. Although you would imagine that Mega attack would get a crunch as it comes in fire. Would have been a very different game without them, but it was still a really nicely played game by Hacker. And ultimately it led to him having a 2-1 record. Which was good for him. He needed to go positive after the DPL showing. And I kind of just given a draw for the game time. But it was something for him to build on. So, if we reflect on the title of this video, how good is Smogon Draft this player actually? That's pretty good. Like, he had a very solid year. Like, a year where you do make a play in a seasonal, and also have a positive record in the team tour. Like, it's a pretty good year. And I know it's easy to just say, like, oh, we wanted some popularity. But overall, it's still a good year. And credit to him. Originally, I wasn't going to show this game as part of the video, as it is technically nowhere near part of 2024. However, I thought it was only fair to show how our hero is doing now. This is a game that took place in DPL earlier this season, where Hacker played Devon. I believe it was week 1. And yeah, it's safe to say it was a fairly alright one for our protagonist here. Let's begin the game. We see a Nido Queen lead from Devon, as we see a Beedrill lead by Hacker clicking knockoff, getting rid of the Pasho Berry as rocks go up. No surprise there, really. See a U-turn, doing 30% as Scrafty pivots in, taking little to nothing from this Earth Power, revealing to be Assault Vested. Tapu Fini comes in and takes a knockoff for its troubles, getting rid of the Iapapa Berry. Beedrill Mega Beedrill, why did I say Beedrill Mega? Is the pivot onto the Tapu Fini as Combine goes up. Smart play by Hacker, just forcing it out immediately. As U-turn comes out, as the Rocky Helmet is revealed on the Skarmory. It is a free Heatran though, revealing to be leftovers. The Hard Glade taking a Magma Storm, an interesting decision, but see how that pans out. Comfey is the pivot of choice onto this Mega Glade, taking a close combat and revealing to be Max Fizz Death. Well, close to Max Fizz Death and open helmet. No one's going to get revenge. Tapu Fini comes in, as this seems like a good opportunity to click Synthesis. And that's exactly what it was. Combine comes out, as Hacker goes for slow U-turn. No prizes for what's coming in here. It's the Beedrill, which looks like it's going to die pretty quickly. Skarmory comes in, and we see the Rouge reveal from the Beedrill. That wasn't surprising at all. Marsh comes in, instead of going hard, but wanted to take Helmet Chip as Spice came out. Defog Rotom, not surprising in that instance, as Newton comes back in, gets some rocks again, but dies in the process. The Hydro Pump. We see Feet come in on a Rotom, as you do, clicking Taunt to prevent the defog from coming off, and Moonblasting, taking a Volt Switch, which does 41. Mega Beedrill comes back in again, probably to take more helmet damage. Not to click Roost, as Devon fades into Surf. I don't really know what that was achieving. We see a knockoff, getting rid of the Rocky Helmet, and this Beedrill is about to be a giant pain in the ass for the rest of the game. We see Roost on the roller, which brings out Scrafty. And this Scrafty, you would imagine, is going to rid of him as to catch like a Super Fang or something? I don't really know. But Moonblast comes just shy of killing. The Iapapa Berry gets procced on Hacker's end as the defog gets rid of Rock permanently. That the gets finished. Another Moonblast comes out, the Volt Switch but doesn't kill, as we see the Mega Beedrill come in once again. And Skarmory comes out on the U-turn. Yeah. Free Heatran, the Glade comes back in as rocks go up, and rocks means Fini's now dead. Comfey comes in, taking Poison Jag, good prediction by Devon, gets the poison, but now this is also dead to rocks, or just Draining Kiss coming out now. Skarmory comes in to take the Draining Kiss. I wonder if this is defog, because otherwise you've just lost 2 mons. The Heatran comes in on surprise no one, just to catch that defog, but Devon goes for Roost instead. Time to sack one of them, as the Glade is the second choice. We see the Sceptile come in, and this seems like a very obvious EQ. Scrafty comes in, we saw Intimidate earlier, EQ does absolutely nothing. Skarmory comes back out. Are we going to see a Super Fang miss? Ooh, that's a bit unfortunate. But he's so far ahead, doesn't really matter. Eyes go up as Heatran comes in. Here comes the other sack to rocks, because he has to on Heatran at this point. Sceptile comes back out, probably click EQ again. Hacker pivots into Landorus on the SD as Devon goes for his last chance. I wonder if that's speed. That's an interesting speed creep choice there by Devon and his team. I wonder if that's going to be a common occurrence. You know. Landorus pivots out in the Skarmory. This is just going to get more free kills with Magma Storm. Yep, bye-bye Skarmory. And the Heatran pocket full. Landorus comes out, last one, has to click Nasty Plot to have any hope of winning the game. Magma Storm hits, does 48. We see some chip. He goes for the agility. He has to bang on the kill, but yeah, Magma Storm gets the kill. A nice comfortable 6-0 win from Hacker. greatest prep on Devon's end. I think he was a very slow style to then attempt to win with an unburdened set file that outslowed a lander. I don't really get the logic there. Well, at the end of the day, it was just a dominant display from Hacker. He knew what he had to do. He kept the heat turning from time. Around between Rhoda, maybe Scrappy, and Comfey. Pedro was a really smart pivot as well into tackle Feening of choice, and it was just the whole game once the Rocket helmet was gone, as was the Rockers. And yeah, nothing more to be said. Dominant win from Hacker. But yet another instance of an event that Hacker's doing well individually, but his team sucks. Oh, for his sake, actually. Oh. We come back to our question of, is Hacker that bad? No, he's not. But is he the best? Fake deserve 100%. And I think we all know that. I hope you all enjoyed this analysis of something a bit different, a bit more of a light-hearted topic compared to hearing that I already put out. And there's plenty more to come. So if you're interested in this type of content or, my various discussions we've seen previously, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you all on the next one.